Cooper is a nice dog, the dog that every dog lover would dream of having. His owner is this naive human known by the name of Diana. But despite all appearances, Cooper is not faithful to Diana. Not because he doesn't like her, but because he is faithful to something bigger, a cause he has served for many years now, a cause you are now well aware of. Cooper is indeed at the full service of the quantum plan. The truth is, Cooper is a mole, a sleeping agent waiting for his time, ready to strike when we tell him to. In the beginning, in his relationship with Diana, Cooper was actually a very faithful dog to his owner. But we needed Cooper, so we turned him against Diana. It was not an easy task because Cooper was just too fond of humans, and despite all I have told you about this already determined block universe, free will exists. Cooper can decide for himself. You, even, can decide for yourself. Much more than creating ghosts or diseases, much more than manipulating entanglement, dealing with free will is actually the hardest part of the quantum plan. Free will lies in the fact that being a part of the universe is indeed making you a pawn within it, but an acting pawn. You are constantly choosing between the probabilities you feel from the quantum world to shape the macroscopic world. And these probabilities are hidden in the most indeterminate place that you can find: your thoughts. To understand in more detail how free will could be possible, you have to understand the indeterminacy principle, also known as the uncertainty principle. As we saw in episode 5, the particle at the quantum scale is represented as a wave containing its possible properties. This wave behavior directly affects the measurement at the macroscopic scale. For example, if you spotted the location of an electron, it will be impossible for you to know its speed. And conversely, the more precise you are with your speed measurement, the less precise you would be with your location measurement. Because at the quantum scale, it is impossible to measure the precise value of two properties of a particle at the same time. This is indeterminacy. The main consequence of this indeterminacy is that it is impossible to predict the trajectory of a particle. In other words, it is impossible to know its future. In other words, this particle is only a multitude of probabilities. But how is this related to free will, you might ask? Well, consider this. Your thoughts work exactly like the particles in the quantum world. They are only probabilities, so they have a wave-like behavior. And it is only when you make a move or speak that they become a determined thing in the macroscopic world. Just like particles, it is impossible to predict a trajectory for your thoughts. In other words, it is impossible to predict which of your possible actions will embed themselves into the future. Your thoughts are indeterminate, and it is this indeterminacy of your thoughts that creates space for free will to exist. It is at this moment, in this place, between quantum and macroscopic, that waves of particles become particles. It is at this moment, in this place, between quantum and macroscopic, that your thoughts become facts. It is in this in-between that free will happens. This in-between is the only place we can't reach, the only place we are truly in the dark. We despise free will because it makes our quantum plans so much more complicated to execute. Without it, we would be able to read the block universe as easily as a book. We would be able to anticipate and determine absolutely everything. But it is as it is, and for Cooper to join us, we had no other choice but to succeed in convincing him. We tried food. It usually works very well with canines, but it didn't work on Cooper, who had a strong mind for a dog. We struggled so much with him that we considered at one point using entanglement to break his mind, but we finally had him by simply showing him the ugly truth of human beings. Cooper was a mole for many years, unbeknownst to his owner, Diana, being for her the most faithful companion she could dream of. But one day he was activated, and he accomplished his mission swiftly. Diana was no longer a problem for the quantum plan. Cooper was far from being the only dog we recruited, and dogs were far from being the only animals we recruited. Because the quantum plan is only against humans, not other animals, we rallied most other Earth species throughout centuries. Dogs are indeed our best spies since we made them your favorite companion, but we were joined by most other life forms very early in our process. Every species you think you are bound to is actually much more bound to us. And when some recruits die, we can still use them, as you already know, as ghosts to trouble you. You are surrounded in this world. We made sure you have nowhere to escape. Because despite free will, nothing is random in the quantum plan. Everything has a purpose. It all started millions of years ago when we created ourselves by eliminating a non-collaborative species. Ironically, it is by this very fact that we unintentionally allowed the creation of your species too.